Okay guys, so now is the last chapter for this procedural skin tutorial, and what we want to do now is to see how to clean things and replicate everything into a material. So let's dive into the node graph and let's see how we can start cleaning a little bit of these nodes. So we spoke about geochannel, so now it's time to convert our nodes into geochannel instead of having them connected as inputs. So what I will do here is to start by creating a geochannel out of the curvature. So I will double click on the ISO curvature and click on tab so I can see this little search option, and I will look for the bake point. So the bake point will use the same information as the size and depth of my channel itself, which is 1K and will be 16 bits. So 1K 16 bits, it will be scalar information, SACG, and I will simply click on OK to create this bake point. So into the bake point, the first thing to do is to make sure that it's renamed properly, because what it will do is that it will use the current name to create the geochannel, and the name of the geochannel will be basically how the material are able to look at surface-driven information and use that as masks directly into the material itself. So into the export geochannel tab, I will enter the proper name for my geochannel, and I will make sure that this thing on bake will be activated. So every time when I will bake this geochannel, then the information will be updated. Just have to click on bake here. And I will do the same for the other pieces. So I want to do the same for the ISO eyelid. So let's create another bake point. Okay. This one is, what's the size of this map? Okay, 1K. So let's do the same. Click on OK. Bake points. I will just simply rename that ISO eyelids bake points. Copy this name, go into the export palette and rename it using this proper name, and bake the informations. Let's do the same for the lips. So ISO lips bake points, and finally I will do the same for the nose. ISO nose bake points. Make sure that the name of the geochannel is visible and correct, and then I can bake the informations. Okay, so probably one of the things that we want to do is to make sure that this Mari displacement has been baked and is creating a geochannel on itself as well, which is not at the moment. So I will go into the bake information. I will say that I want to use baked point information, and here I would just create this mdisp geochannel name, so I can make sure to replicate that later into the material, and I will rebake these informations. So once this baked point has been sorted and has been baked, what we want to do is then to replace the current connection so we can clear what is happening into the viewport. So I will localize this different connection. A lot of them are going into the secondary and tertiary colors. So let's go into this secondary. Here in the secondary, instead of using the curvature in, so this is an input node, which is expecting to get some information connected at the node graph level. So because I replicated the information directly into the geometry, now what I can do when I'm going into the secondary color GRP is to use a geochannel node. And this geochannel will not need anything connected because it can call the information that are driven by the objects that are available at the object level. So I can write ISO curvature because I want to localize the name of my ISO. If I'm clicking here, I will be able to find the different ISO that I baked. So let's use the ISO curvature here, and I will just replace this connection like this and kill the former one because I don't need it anymore. I do not have any other inputs, so I can save this, go into, you see, I clean this GRP now. So secondary color is not expecting anything anymore. Tertiary color is expecting the Mari displacement as an input, so we'll double click here. And I will replace this mdisp by a geochannel. This geochannel will be using the mdisp. And now I can replace the connections. And if I'm going back to my main node graph, I do not have any more visible connection, but they are still happening because they are happening at the breakpoint level. So let's do a bit more cleaning. I will go into this coat weight, and into this coat weight, I will rename, I will change that using my geochannel. So curvature, ISO curvature, okay. Can kill this one. Eyelid is not requested anymore. ISO eyelids. Lips is not requested anymore as well. Lips, okay. Nose, do not need it, so I can just copy this one and say that I want the nose instead. And same for the Mari displacements. mdisp, and replace the connection here. And now I can kill these different inputs. And what I will do for the next pass is simply to connect them, to copy them, go back at the main node level, go into my coat roughness, GRP, part that, whoops, okay. No, what I want to do, curvature, am I using the curvature? I'm not using the curvature for the roughness. I could have, because it will be the same as using the ambient occlusion. I'm using the nose, so I want to use this here. Replace the connection like this. Kill these inputs. Then I'm using the lips, which is here, the eyelid, and the Mari displacements. And I can simply kill this ISO curvature because I'm not using it anymore. And this base is not really an input, but it's using the ambient occlusion that has been baked within the object at the beginning. So you just want to make sure every time, so this procedural node is active, you just want to make sure that if you go in the object palette and then you click on your object, do right click and generate the ambient occlusion, this is really important because otherwise you will not be able to use this one. This one will remain empty. Think that it will remain white as base. Let's go back to the main node graph and you can see that everything has been cleaned. I can start to do a bit more cleaning here. There is one last thing that we need to clear, and it's the paintable information that are at the level of the primary color. So there's paintable information if I'm clicking on the primary color GRP, clicking on S here. So there's paintable information are into layers. And again, as we said, we cannot use any painted information, bitmaps information directly into materials. So these are information that we want to stay live, and we do not want to bake them every time in order to refresh them. So what I will do, instead of using GeoChannel, I could use GeoChannel. It's basically the same process. But instead of doing that, I will leave them as inputs. So let me just redo the connections. So I will create an input here. Just make sure that this input has been recorded at the primary, at the main node graph level, which is, because I can see that I have an input here. So I will copy and paste this input for every color I'm using, which are 4, 5, so 5 different colors, and I will rename this color. So you can use, so in order to be more generic, what you can do, instead of using the name of the current color, you can say that this one will become your color 1. But if you do that, you will have to make sure that there's main nodes that you created before, which are indicating the name of the color and what is inside of this color node. You will have to make sure that they are renamed with the same information. So for example, this one can become my ISO color 1 in. So if I'm using color 1, then I will just want to make sure that this has been renamed like this. This one has been renamed like this. Soft red multiply has been renamed with the same informations, the emerge as well, and so on. So this soft blue will become our color 2. Okay. And I will have to do that for the whole process. ISO color 2 in. Yellow will become the color number 3. Control C. Okay. This one will become my color number 4. It's definitely taking some time to clean, but it's really worth doing it if you want to make sure that your material is understandable. Otherwise you will spend ages just cleaning things, and you will not be able to understand what is happening at the main node graph level. So color 4, and finally the color 5. ISO color 5 in. Color 5 MRG, and the rest can stay as it is. So let's save, and I will want to replace the connection with the input and not the layer. So let's replace the different connections. Okay, and I will extract the paintable nodes out of this graph, Control X to cut them and put them at the main node graph level. Actually, let's put them into backdrop, and this one will be our ISO colors, so things are a bit more easily defendable. Can I clean it? No, so I have to do that manually. Put that here, this one here, this one here, and this one here. This one should be ISO. Okay, and now I can clean this main this backdrop. Okay, and as you can see, what has happened as a result of that is that this primary color has expanded with and asking as inputs the layers that we did before. So we have to replicate them. This one will be the color 1, this one will be the control for the color 2, and this one will be the control for the color 3, for the color 4, and for the color 5. Control S to save things. And now we want to start adding some extra control, so we do not have to go back into this GRP if we want to control things. Same as what we did for this albedo TLD, basically. And actually this one, this albedo clear seems cleaning should be here because it's a layer, it's paintable information, it's not procedural information. So what I want to do with this primary color node is to double click on this node. Let's have a look at what is happening at in the viewport. So I should have the same exact result as what I had before. Okay, so that's perfect. So what I want to do is to double click on this primary color GRP, click on S, dive back in again, and here I will want to expose the different values. I will want to export the color 1. So I will double click on this color 1. I want to do that following the hierarchy of what is happening into my node graph. So first the color 1 is visible. So double click on the color 1 node and click on this promote attributes. If I'm going back at the root level and I'm double clicking on this GRP, I can see that now I have access to the primary color directly on the GRP itself. So I can select another color and say that this will become my new base. Okay, let's go back into this primary color GRP. I will want to expose the color number 2. I just want to expose the main nodes. You will see that later in the graph that we have a lot of things happening into these groups, but we do not want to expose everything. So this color number 3 can be exposed, color number 4 can be exposed, color number 5 as well. I may want to expose the ambient occlusion with the control of the ambient occlusion. So we'll double click on this. So do I have things? No. I will double click on this red ambient occlusion HSV and expose the value one by one like this. And I will expose also this node, this brightness lookup node, because it's basically acting as a mask for the ambient occlusion. So we click here. Last one will be this bright yellow ambient occlusion. And finally this one. So if I'm having a look back at this primary color, I can see that now I have access to all the different values. If I want to change the color number 2, I just need to click on this settings, and now I can make it to become a bit more saturated, or I can make it to become a little bit darker. If I'm not happy about the pattern and I want it to become a bit brighter, then I just need to click on the color number 5 and I can make it to become brighter. So I will make it a bit brighter like this, click on OK. Then something that I can do is to, for example, to make sure that the ambient occlusion is not as visible as it was before. And maybe I want to saturate it a bit more. Like this. I want to make it a bit more red. Then I can play with the mask directly here to make sure that it's a bit more visible, for example, or less visible on the opposite, and so on and so on. So now you have access to all the control that you had before without having to dive back into this GRP. So I will have to do that for every GRP that I have. So for the secondary colors, what I like exposing is the control for the curvature. So let's have a look at the end results. Okay, so I like to expose this one and this guy. Curvature out, I can do the same. Then for the primary dark cloud, I will want to expose this. Actually, I do not want to expose. No, let's keep it like this. And then I will expose also the size and the roughness. Primary bright cloud. Okay. Oops. My bad, sorry. Same, I want to expose the size and roughness. And for the secondary dark cloud, so instead of exposing it, what I will do is simply to expose this, the visibility of this secondary cloud. And I will do the same for the visibility. So I will do the same, sorry, for the roughness. Then for the bright secondary cloud, I do not want to expose it, but instead I want to expose the visibility, the overall visibility, and the roughness. Okay, and finally for the cellular, what I want to do is to expose the visibility and the size. So if I'm going outside of this and I'm just double clicking on this one, now I have access to all the former options, which can become a bit overwhelming. That's why I'm saying you do not want to expose everything. You just want to expose the main primary values in order to show them at the main level. And we are just exposing things at the GRP level. We are not exposing things yet at the level of a material. We'll see just after that how to expose at the level of the material. So into the tertiary colors, the only thing I want to make visible is so I may want to expose the same values as before, and the mask that is controlling it, and same for the brightness lookup. And if I'm going back to my main node graph, now I have access to this information here. Okay, so one last thing we will do is to have the same level of control for the coat weight and the clear coat. So let's click on the, and the coat roughness. So let's click on the coat weight. And on the coat weight, so what I want to do is to play with the curvature first. Then I want to play with the brightness for the eyelid. Then with the brightness for the lips. Brightness for the nose. And the Mari displacement weight. So we'll click on this. Then I want to do the same for the coat roughness. So for the coat roughness, I want to play with the ambient occlusion, with the nose brightness, lips brightness, eyelid brightness, and the Mari displacement brightness lookup. And if I'm going back at the main level of this, I can see that I have access to this information, to this settings, without having to click back and to dive back inside of this note. So now all the control has been added in at the GRP level of these nodes. So what I will want to do is to convert everything as a material. So I need to start creating a material for that. So I will split this video into a second one. So the second one will be about how to create the material and how to expose again those different settings at the material level.